There's only one country for us. The name of it is the State of Palestine. Shame on those who destroyed it.
For 20 years, Riyad Mansour has been the voice of Palestinians on the world stage.
We don't have a homeland other than the State of Palestine.
From the Israel-Gaza war of 2008 through to the most devastating iteration yet, the current conflict, Ambassador Mansour has used his perch as the permanent observer for Palestine to the UN to fight for his people, to advocate for their safety and their right to live in peace, security, and dignity on the land they call home. Today, we're at the UN speaking with Ambassador Mansour just days after US President Donald Trump said he wants to take over the Gaza Strip, displacing millions of Palestinians and creating what he called a Riviera in the Middle East.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
President Trump has wondered out loud how anybody could want to live in Gaza after all that it has been through. What does he not understand about Palestinians and their connection to the land?
We love our land, regardless of climate, regardless of whether we have the most fabulous buildings or the modest structures in it. It is our land. We hope that all leaders, powerful or small, respect the feelings and the decision of the Palestinian people.
President Trump has called himself, he says that he wants his legacy to be that of a peacemaker, but watching him standing next to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying what he's said over the last few days, is he a peacemaker?
I don't know, the proof is in the pudding. And it doesn't seem that some of the statements that were uttered regarding, ethnic cleansing and displacement of the Palestinian people and taking our land away from us are not conducive to peace. But we hope, as you said, he is a very powerful leader, globally speaking, and he can bring peace. But peace requires listening to the aspirations and the pain of people like the Palestinian people, and also respecting the global consensus on two-state solution and putting an end to this prolonged occupation.
Several prominent politicians inside Israel and even some inside the US government have expressed a desire to see Israel expand into the West Bank, to annex the West Bank. How concerned are you that President Trump will allow that to happen?
We are concerned after 80 years from establishing the United Nations, we need to go back to the conditions that led to World War I and World War II, in which mighty countries start grabbing countries around them for their own reasons, and instead of leading to peace, led to war, destructions, and the killing of millions of people. In the case of World War II, tens of millions of people were killed. Shouldn't we learn from these lessons that peace is much nicer than, belligerency and war and oppression and killing and maiming and destruction?
On that note, what is happening right now in Jenin?
The Israeli army is completely controlling it, destroyed a significant portion of it. We have 20,000 of the population of the camp being displaced. And the Israeli army in the camp, and in Jenin, in Tulkarem, in the camp, in the city, and in other parts of the West Bank. We condemn these attacks by the Israeli forces. We want them to stop doing what they're doing and to withdraw all of their forces from these areas, from the northern part of the West Bank.
The contentious relationship between Israel and Palestinians has often spilled over to the UN, with Israel repeatedly accusing the body of anti-Semitism and even launching personal attacks against Ambassador Mansour.
You have never uttered anything even resembling a condemnation of Hamas. Mr. Mansour, you are a terrorist in a suit.
One of the criticisms that Americans and Israelis have levied at you over the past 16 months is that you've refused to condemn the atrocities of October 7th. Why?
Listen, I always say, and I challenge the Israeli ambassador in the Security Council and in the General Assembly, I condemn the killing of all civilians from all sides. They do not even mention a single casualty from our side. It's always only them and the concerns about their victims. If you do not show me humanity about my own victims, don't play the games with me, of me trying to condemn some people among the Palestinian people for a certain conduct, and you are not showing any sympathy to us. These games we will not play. If you want to demonstrate humanity, begin by saying you are against the killing of innocent civilians.
Recent events at the UN would suggest that much of the international community supports the Palestinian cause. In September, the UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to demand Israel end its unlawful presence in the occupied territories, despite objection from the US, Israel, and a handful of others. Of course, Israelis will often, criticize this institution, calling it anti-Semitic, and that it's voted overwhelmingly against Israel historically. What do you say to them?
It's sore losers. Okay, if you play by democracy, it is here open for everyone. Go and convince your colleagues of what you believe in.
I want to take a step back. For the past 16 months, you have been the voice of Palestinians on the world stage as atrocity after atrocity has been committed on your people. What has that experience been like?
It was a very painful experience, but it was my duty, and all members of my team is to be like our people, to elevate ourselves to the highest possible level in order to convey to the international community through the Security Council and the General Assembly the tragedy, the pain, the genocide inflicted upon our people.
In many ways, these halls have been a sanctuary for Mr. Mansour and the government he represents. But serious questions remain about what role the Palestinian Authority can play in post-war Gaza. Hamas, while beaten, still clearly holds sway in the enclave. Is the Palestinian Authority capable of governing Gaza, though?
Yes, it is capable.
But on the streets of Ramallah, on the streets of Jenin, of Jericho, the PA is deeply unpopular. How is it, capable of this monumental challenge that is rebuilding Gaza?
Well, you see, whether you are popular or not, if you are governing your country, and there are many examples throughout the whole world, it is just, implementing the mandate that you are ruling based on it is what one should judge them. Popularity, it will be resolved in elections. We were ready to have, and we are still ready to have elections to take place, provided that it also include the Palestinian people, as was in the cases of elections before in the East Jerusalem.
And what about in Gaza? Would you want those elections to be held?
Of course, in Gaza and everywhere, and we are ready and willing to do that.
When you see the destruction that has been levied against Gaza, against Palestinians over the last 16 months, the lives extinguished, how is it possible for Israelis and Palestinians to move forward?
It will be very, very difficult, but begin by making the ceasefire permanent. Begin by giving the Palestinian people hope. Begin by giving them all the necessary elements to sustain their lives, from food, water, electricity, fuel, rebuilding the hospitals, rebuilding the schools. Give them hope and begin the monumental process of rebuilding Gaza. These are small steps in the rehealing. I cannot pretend that when you have thousands of children who lost the entire members of their families that they will forget these experiences. But let us begin the journey of healing them, putting their lives back together. We don't need to go through one Nakba, two Nakba, third Nakba. We need to put an end to this tragedy by opening door for a political horizon, ending this occupation, to have in this holy piece of land from the river to the sea 2 states. Then therefore we might lay the ground for conditions in the future where the 2 states and the 2 people, based on free will, might have relationship beyond our imagination today.
Ambassador Mansour, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.